Welcome back from the break. It is time for conversations. I told you earlier that I was going to get into it and give you really awesome, informative little chat. So I'm super excited for you guys to meet the guests that I'm going to be talking with today. Don't forget to keep tweeting us. Tell me what you think about our conversation. Use the hashtag KTN Life and Style for us to see your tweets. Let's go meet. This is the segment where we have a chat with amazing individuals. An individual I'm going to be speaking to today is nonetheless also amazing. I'm going to be speaking to Michelle Ascott. You may have seen her face before. She has been on the show. She is a life coach for both adults and children, and she has a background in psychology. How are you, Michelle? How are you doing?
Fine, and thank you so much for inviting me onto your show.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it so much. We need people like you so much right now. For starters, how have you been coping working from home? How is your family?
Thank you for asking. For me, it's not such a major in one sense because I work online, but obviously now we have the factor that my child is now at home and my husband is, so new dynamics. Fine, more ups and downs, but you know, we all have downs at this time because we're in a pandemic, we're in this situation, so it's totally normal for us all to have.
Yeah, all those feelings. I completely agree. It made me happy to hear you talk about there being a different dynamic at home, and I'm very happy that you work with children. So the topic that we'll be discussing today is the psychological effects that lockdown or social distancing has on us, and how can we mitigate them amongst ourselves and even in our households as families. But before we get into all that and the nitty-gritties of that, I wanted you to differentiate something for me or tell me if it's even different. Is there a fundamental difference between our feelings and our psychology? What is the difference between the two?
Well, psychology is more of a broader term, and emotions are an aspect of our psychology and a very important aspect. It's really important at times like this that we recognize our emotions, no matter how uncomfortable they are. And there's a great expression that I heard that we have emotions need motion. So it's really important that we identify. I know it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I love
really
it.
important. Emotions need motion. So, you know, leave with that thought. So, you know, if we squash our emotions, which we try and do, then they just end up bubbling somewhere else. You know, we snap at someone, we flip out. So it's really important to give our emotions motion. And by that, I mean, recognize it and let it, accept it and let it be and let it flow. And know that when you do that, a new emotion will come. So emotions are just so important all the time because it's our body's reaction to what's happening to us around us.
I like that. A lot of what I've been reading about staying in lockdown or social distancing is a lot of the feelings that we feel are feelings that come that can easily lead to depression eventually because we are isolating, and sometimes you feel like you have no plan or you can just be, you know, busy. You're busy with nothing or something. And what I wanted to know is when it comes to adults and children, can children actually lose a sense of meaning? Are children able to lose their purpose in life?
Well, I mean, it's all to do with how we see this situation. And one of the most important thing is to be positive. And we can do that very easily by doing certain things in our day, which will give us meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And a very important thing to give us meaning is to focus on gratitude. I always bring up gratitude, but gratitude is one of the fundamental elements of being a positive person.
Right.
So if we make sure we incorporate that in our day, and we can do it in a fun way, with our children, we could have a gratitude jar. So every day, for the little ones, I call it warm and fuzzy. So every day we identify the things that make us feel warm and fuzzy. And we have things like a routine, and a routine gives us purpose.
Right.
People get stressed when they just focus on the things they can't control. But there's many things we can control. And part of that is gratitude, what we do in the day. And all these things can give us purpose and help to be positive.
Nice. I like that. Gratitude. Focus on the gratitude. Or if you're grateful, then it helps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we're very used to focusing on the extraordinary, you know, that holiday, that event, that amazing thing. But actually, the secret of happiness is to focus on the ordinary. And when you train your mind to do that, then you can see beauty in everything, even in a lockdown situation. I mean, I personally practice this every day, and I'm just grateful even for when I have a hot shower and just, you know, feeling the hot water on my skin, when I
Yeah.
go out for a walk, seeing the beautiful birds that are in Kenya. So there's so many beautiful things. So we focus on those. There's also less room for the negative.
I like that. That's actually very important. And for all the kids listening, I hope you're paying attention. Now, there is a different dynamic that you're in as well, with moms and dads being in the same space as their children, but it's not a holiday. Everyone is still working, they're still supposed to be studying and keeping up with schoolwork. Um, for moms and dads, for you yourself personally, what has been the most challenging thing with having kids at home?
Yes, it is. It's one of those things where we need to breathe a lot. I think letting go, we have to let go of the normal expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, me personally, I cannot work as much as I did before. So we need to be realistic and let go of what we can and can't do.
Right.
And that will just keep us healthy. The online teaching can be a little bit stressful. So a nice thing to do is, if we're feeling overwhelmed and stressed,
Mm-hmm.
then just doing a simple thing where we pause, breathe, and change the agenda. So pause, breathe, and then, so I don't know, maybe it's maths. I always find that maths is a bit of an issue. So maybe it's the maths and you're struggling and it's just
Yeah.
not working, and you can see yourself going down that spiral. So just pause, take a break, go and have some hot chocolate together. You can always come back to it. So it's really important that we're flexible,
Yeah.
that we're kind and we're compassionate to ourselves.
Yeah.
We're also modeling these for our children, but we need to we cannot be the perfect teacher, the perfect worker, the perfect wife, the perfect housewife. We have to let some things go and just do what we can, and what we do is okay. It's enough.
I like that. It's enough. Whatever it is you're doing, it's enough. My mother was talking to my brother the other day because he's doing his exams online, and she gave him quite an extreme example, but she gave him the example of a lady who is a lecturer now at university. But when she was in primary school, she grew up in Colombia during the war. So she wasn't really able to go to school from when she was born until she was about 8 or 9 years old. And that's now when she went to school. And now she's a lecturer. So I don't know. I like what you said. For me, I'd probably say it's never that serious. But you're right. What you are doing is truly enough. For for children, and also young adults, something else that parents are quite worried about is mindless activity on phones and on screens. And then alcohol and substance use has really been on the rise because there's just nothing but time. So what advice would you have for parents who are frustrated with that?
Okay, so again, it comes down to self-compassion. We know that a lot of internet usage and being on gadgets and stuff is not great, but we are also in a pandemic. So we have to be realistic. We've never been in a situation like this. We're in
Yeah.
extraordinary times. Even my own children, you know, there is an increase of them using electronics
Yeah.
because it's sometimes just required. The most important thing is balance, though. I mean, maybe there is more screen time, but
Mhm.
I personally, what I try and do is I make sure that my boys are exercising. You know, I make sure that we're having a balance in our day. Perhaps it's a bit leans a bit more towards the online, but
Yeah.
I'm still ensuring that they're doing other stuff that's also, you know, good for their brain. So we're exercising, we're playing board games, you know, different things that which keep the balance going. And in regards to things like alcohol and substance abuse,
Mhm.
again, it's going back to keeping positive, because these are often ways that people are, you know, escapism, avoiding stress. So by incorporating certain things in our day, we can just relieve that stress. So there's not such a need to be turning to other sources to keep positive or to escape.
For parents that are trying to do that, and perhaps they have realized that maybe there's one of their children or is struggling, what is the best way to go about that conversation? Because, like, I find sometimes with teenagers and young adults, it's quite hard to get them to talk and to open up about any stress or anxiety that they're facing. Some of them, especially boys, will keep it in and close it in. Do you have any advice for parents who are having a hard time talking to their kids?
Quite a good way to talk to young people is often to use the scenario of friends, you know. So rather than talking directly to begin with about them, you sort of bring it in the conversation and say, you know, how are your friends doing? You know, are they getting stressed? Because it's a nice way to just open the conversation, and it perhaps makes the child not feel like they're in the spotlight. Oh gosh, mum's grilling me. So it's just a more natural way when we start sort of broader and just talk about their friends. And then, you know, hopefully the conversation then naturally moves in the direction of them. But it's
Yeah.
quite a nice way to start the conversation.
I like that. I am going to use that for my brothers. That is super handy and helpful. Um, Now, at this time, you talked about being really stressed and trying to fill your time or trying to do other things so that you're not only focused on the uncomfortable feelings that you're having. But for parents on the other end, there are several parents currently who are panicked about their jobs, are worried about where school fees is going to come from post COVID because they're not sure of their income. What is a way to deal with panic and stress when the future is unforeseeable, because we have no idea when this will all calm down and the world can move on?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we are not fortune tellers.
Yeah.
Stress often comes about when we worry about the past and we worry about the future. We
Mhm.
do not know what is going to happen in the future. So to some extent, there is no point in thinking about what is going to happen.
Oh, okay.
So the thing with stress is the most important thing is to try and stay present as much as possible, because if you're in the present moment, then you're not worried about the past and you're not worried about the future. And remember that we are resilient. We can get through this. So also perhaps think of a time in your past where things were really difficult and you got through. And like that, you will get through this. Because what is stress? What is anxiety? It's the fear that we're not going to get through it, but we
Mhm.
are. So we have to believe in our inner resource and that we have the capability to get through it. And for the moment, just focus on the now, because we really don't know what is going to be happening in the future.
Yeah. Like what you said about believe in your inner resource. I was even writing it down. I was like, yes. Looking back at a time when
Mhm.
I felt I overcame something would probably give me
Okay.
strength to move on.
I was going to say, if you wanted to take that exercise further, you
Mhm.
could also actually specifically identify the strengths that you had and how those strengths can help you at this time.
Wow, I really like that. That's so handy. You said that you are working online, so for you, work hasn't changed so much. But has there been something very baffling you've seen a lot of your clients experiencing, something perhaps you hadn't foreseen?
I would say perhaps an increase in anxiety and stress, which is totally natural. And with children, a lot of them are having issues with the online schooling because it's a completely new dynamic, new organizational skills, and also the issue of they're really missing social contact with their peers because it's so important for them. So those are the issues that are coming up with the children. The adults tend to be looking beyond, so they're still on the same, the same issues. What job do I want to do in the future? How am I going to get a balance? How can I be a big mom? So they're able to do the bigger picture. Okay. Whereas obviously for the children, it's very much about what's happening now because children are now.
I get that. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought you said the adults weren't coping as well as the children, and I would have agreed. For your clients as well, you've talked about the e-learning space for children being a new comfort zone and them having to learn new and different things. Are there tips and tricks you have for parents who are trying to adjust into this new e-learning world?
Yeah, I mean, a good thing to do is important to have breaks. So in between, so try and put things into little blocks and then just have brain breaks, be it walking around, doing exercises like this, moving our fingers, just to use the different part of our brain. And also for some children, there is an issue with motivation. So give them some sort of reward. So when they've done this block of space, they can maybe listen to some music that they like, or they can maybe color or something that is different to being on the screen, but it serves as an incentive. And being as positive as you can. It's at home, it's not at school, it's not going to be the same. So to give compassion to your children and also to yourself, if you need a bit of a break because it is very intense, then take a bit of break, take a 5-minute break, be kind to yourself and also your children.
Yeah, I think it'll also teach the children to also be kind to themselves in the future, so that's really important. For you in your home, has there been anything new and interesting that you've learned about your kids and your husband that you've gotten to see over this period and you're like, oh, I didn't know that?
Well, it's interesting to see my children I am a former teacher, so it's interesting to see how they learn, their learning styles. So that's interesting because obviously we see our children in a different role. So it's interesting to see them from that perspective. And also interesting to see how we behave in stressful situations. Mm-hmm. So my husband is very patient and very positive. So those traits have been coming out more. And also you have the different characters for how people behave during this time. So my husband is he likes to know all the information. So he's like reading every source so he can tell you everything. That's his way of coping it with. Uh-huh. And mine's more about, I've been focusing more on the positives and, posting video. So it's quite interesting because it brings out your personality and what you do in times of stress. So that's quite fascinating.
It's very interesting. I agree. A lot of people are seeing that. And I think when you spend some time with somebody 24/7, even if you're working and all of that, you definitely get a stronger, more intense experience of their personality than maybe you ordinarily would. But it's a good thing, I think. Before we finish up, yes. I would like you to expound a little bit on what you said of living in a post-COVID world, because you said something that I really, really loved. You said we are not fortune tellers. And a lot of the stress that we have right now is angled towards us thinking about the past and thinking about the future. So what's a very good way to make sure that you're present? Whenever you feel like you're straying too much or you're reeling, what's a good way to center yourself and make yourself present?
There's a couple of things. I mean, simply just breathing. And when I say breathing, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth 3 times. So we'll just do it now because it's that quick. So just breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in. That's a very simple exercise. Another one I'll share with you is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. This is very good if you're feeling very panicky and stressed. You just think about, okay, what are the 5 things that I can see in my room or wherever you are?
Okay.
What are the 4 things that I can hear?
Okay.
What are 3 things immediately before me that I can feel? And what are 2 things that I can smell or I would like to smell? And one great thing about me.
Oh, yeah, I would be definitely calm after that. Well, that works. So it's 5 things I can see in the room that I'm in or wherever I am. 4 things that I can hear.
Yeah.
3 things.
Mm-hmm.
What was the 3? Or that I can touch right in front of me.
That I can feel.
Yes, that I can feel.
That I can feel.
That I can feel right in front of me. And then 2 that I can smell or that I would like to smell. And 1 thing that's awesome about me. I love it. That is so wonderful. And just like that.
It's a great exercise to do.
It is a really good exercise to do. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just like that, time is up. So before we finish up, is there a final word that you'd like to give families who are watching us at this time and just give them a message of positivity going forward?
Brilliant. Just remember that every day we wake up, we're 1 day nearer to the end of this chapter, and know that you are loved and you are safe.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Michelle. Could you give them your contact and your social media so that they can be able to find you and get more of this good coaching stuff?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm on Facebook as the International Life Coach and also the International Kids Life Coach. I'm on my Instagram handle is the International Life Coach, and you can also email me on internationallifecoach@gmail.com, and it's just 1 L in International Life Coach @gmail.com. But I'm also contactable through my Facebook pages and Instagram.
That's great. Thank you so much. I have loved this conversation with you. It's been very, very, very helpful. I'm sure I'll probably be having a chat with you in the near future. Otherwise, stay safe to you and your family. Thank you.
And the same to you. Thank you so much, Susan. Keep well and have a peaceful rest of day.
Thank you.